Lisbon was all winding streets and golden light, the kind of place where secrets could hide in plain sight. The salty Atlantic breeze carried the scent of espresso and slow-burning cigarettes as I stepped onto the wrought iron balcony of our penthouse suite, watching the trams rattle through the maze of Alfama below. We'd been here 3 days, long enough for Richard Blackwood III to realize he'd been played, but not long enough for his panic to turn into anything dangerous. The money was already laundered through 3 shell companies, sitting pretty in an account under a name that didn't exist. Jude leaned against the railing, shirt sleeves rolled up, smoke curling from his fingers. He didn't turn when I approached, just let me pluck the cigarette from his grip and take a slow drag. "You're brooding," I said, exhaling into the sunset. "I'm strategizing," I smirked. "Same thing with you." He finally looked at me, those sharp eyes tracing the silk robe I'd barely tied shut. 3 weeks into this partnership, and I still couldn't decide if he was the best thing that had ever happened to me or the worst. "So," I said, tapping ash over the railing. "Where next?" "Paris," he replied. "Bigger fish, bigger score." I arched a brow. "You're not worried about Richard?" Jude chuckled. "Worried? Sweetheart, by now he's either too embarrassed to admit he got played or too terrified of Daddy finding out to make noise." I hummed, thoughtful, then turned to face him, leaning back against the railing. The robe slipped just enough to watch his gaze catch. "You know," I said, "we could do this forever." He reached out, tucking a damp strand of hair behind my ear. "Forever's a long time." I caught his fingers before he could pull away. "Not if you're having fun." For a second, something flickered in his eyes, something real beneath the con. But I couldn't afford to wonder if it was honesty or just another layer of the game, not when I had my own play to make. That night, we had a private poker game in a dimly lit back room of a club near the waterfront. Jude's mark, Viktor Orlov, a Russian oil heir with a taste for vintage cognac and a habit of overestimating his own intelligence. I played my part perfectly, the tipsy socialite, laughing too loud at Victor's jokes, accidentally, flashing my cards every time I leaned forward to sip champagne. By midnight, Victor was down €500,000 and too drunk to realize he'd been played. We left with the money and the deed to a villa in Nice, a drunken bet he'd made on a losing hand. Back at the hotel, I kicked off my heels and flopped onto the couch, the deed fluttering from my fingers onto the coffee table. "That was almost too easy," I said, grinning. Jude poured 2 glasses of whiskey, handing me one. "To partnership." I clinked my glass against his. "To the next one." He didn't see it coming. He always sees it coming. But when he woke up the next morning, the suite was silent. Too silent. The safe was open. Empty. The cash, the passports, the fake IDs, even the goddamn Patek Philippe. Gone. And so was I. The note on the pillow was in my looping script. "Partnership was fun, darling, but never trust a thief. K." I knew he'd laugh when he read it. Knew he'd respect the play. But here's the thing about cons, Jude. The best ones always leave a trail. And mine? Mine was exactly where I wanted him to follow. Madrid's Atocha station buzzed with the kind of chaos I loved. Tourists dragging suitcases, pickpockets working the crowd, businessmen too busy to notice the world around them. Perfect cover. I knew Jude would track me here. Knew he'd find the locker near platform 12 with the ticket to Marrakesh under his old alias. Daniel Reeves. A test, a tease, and the first move in a much bigger game. The Riad in Marrakech was all carved wood and hidden courtyards, the air thick with orange blossoms and intrigue. I left the Patek Philippe on the pillow, real, not a fake, because that would have been too obvious, with the hair tucked inside the band. Blonde, deliberate, a trail only he'd recognize. I watched from the rooftop as Jude entered the room, saw the moment he found the watch, saw the grin spread across his face. Game on. The souk at dawn was a symphony of haggling voices and spice sacks. I paid the vendor extra to hand Jude the scroll with the address in the Medina. The hammam was next. Steamy, intimate, the kind of place that would make him wonder if I was waiting naked in the mist. Instead, he found the burner phone. My turn to use his tricks. The message I sent was simple. You always said the best cons leave a trail, but what if the trail's the con? Meet me at sunset, the rooftop bar, come alone. I knew he'd come. Knew he'd have to. The rooftop was all low couches and flickering lanterns, the Atlas Mountains bleeding purple in the distance. I sat at the edge, legs swinging over the drop, a cocktail in hand. You took your time, I said, not turning around. Jude slid into the seat beside me, the warmth of his arm brushing against mine as the Moroccan sunset painted the sky in streaks of gold and violet. You stole my watch, he said, his voice a low rumble that sent familiar sparks dancing along my spine. I smirked, swirling my cocktail so the ice clinked like tiny diamonds. And you let me. The unspoken truth between us thickened the air. We'd been circling this moment since Lisbon, two predators testing each other's teeth. This wasn't betrayal. This was our twisted version of foreplay. He tossed the stack of stolen deeds onto the wrought iron table between us, the papers fluttering like wounded birds. Yours, I believe. I didn't glance at them. The money had never been the point. Keep it, I said, meeting his gaze over the rim of my glass. I only wanted to see if you'd follow. His fingers twitched toward his cigarette case, that telltale sign of restrained energy. And? The dying sun caught in his stubble as I leaned closer, our shared breath mingling with the scent of mint and gin. Turns out you're the only one who can. The admission tasted dangerous, like licking a blade. Jude's knuckles grazed my jawline, that infuriating half-smirk playing on his lips. So what now? My smile sharpened as I pressed the cocktail's chilled glass to his wrist, right where his stolen watch had been. Now, partner. The ice cubes cracked between us like bones. We go to war. Venice's night air clung to my bare shoulders like a lover's whisper as I adjusted the emerald at my throat. The stone felt heavier tonight, or maybe that was Jude's gaze burning into my back as he joined me on the palazzo balcony. Last chance to back out, I murmured, watching moonlight fracture in the black water below. His chuckle vibrated through the marble balustrade where his hand rested beside mine. You're nervous. I turned just enough to catch the way his shirt collar hugged his throat, that vulnerable strip of skin I'd once bitten when we took down the Monte Carlo casino. I don't get nervous, I lied smoothly. I get rich. The auction unfolded like a poisoned sonnet. Our mark, a German industrialist with more ego than sense, never noticed how Jude's bidding paddle caught the light at precise angles, or how my laughter timed perfectly with the waiter's rotations. Then the lights died. When they revived, chaos erupted. The Titian was gone. The industrialist's wire transfer confirmation had vanished from his jacket. And I was already on the dock, duffel bag weighing down one shoulder, my other hand curled around cold steel. Jude appeared like smoke, his dress shoes silent on the wet stones. Going somewhere? You were slowing me down. The lie tasted of copper and champagne. He stepped into my space, our shared heat cutting through the canal's chill. We had a deal. My pistol stayed steady as I turned, the barrel brushing his ribs. And you should have known better. His laughter curled around me like the cigarette smoke from our first con. You won't shoot me. Try me. The safety clicked off. The standoff stretched between heartbeats until Jude produced his phone, the Interpol contact glowing like a threat. You wouldn't, I breathed. His thumb hovered. I will, unless you admit the truth. The canal water slapped the stones in rhythm with my pulse. Which is? That you don't want to walk away. His free hand traced my hip where his fingers had left bruises in Barcelona, a silent reminder of every reckless choice we'd ever made together. The heat of his touch burned through the fabric, familiar and infuriating. We're the same, Kelly. You'd be bored without me. The gun trembled, just once, before I lowered it with a groan. My grip on the weapon had been steady until he spoke, until those damn words slithered under my skin like they always did. God, you're insufferable. The corner of his mouth twitched, that smug, knowing curve that had goaded me into 100 bad decisions. The duffel bag weighed heavy in my other hand, the diamonds inside shifting like a taunt. For a heartbeat, I considered turning, walking, proving him wrong, but the shadows clung to us both, and the air smelled like gunpowder and his stupid cologne. With a sound of frustration, I tossed the duffel at his feet. The clink of stones was too soft for the fortune they held, too quiet for the storm between us. Jade didn't even glance down. His mouth found mine in the dark, all teeth and triumph, the kiss as much a victory as a surrender. They say there's no honor among thieves. Those people have never watched Jude's hands move during a high-stakes poker game. The deliberate flick of a card, the way his thumb brushed the edge of a chip like it was a lover's knuckle. They've never seen how I can make a room forget its own secrets, how a smile and the right whisper can turn a vault combination into a confession. Some partnerships are written in stolen art and blood oaths, sealed with betrayals that taste like regret by morning. Ours? Ours was forged in the smoke of a burned-down casino, in the silence after a gunshot that should have killed us both. It's in the way he still remembers how I take my coffee, black, one sugar, stolen sips from his cup when he's not looking, and the way I know exactly where to aim to make his pulse jump, knife or lips, it's all the same game. Honor's overrated. But this? The way the world goes quiet when we're shoulder to shoulder in the chaos? That's something even the devil wouldn't dare steal. Ours is etched in the way his breath hitches when I pick a lock he couldn't, that quiet, reluctant pride in the pause before his smirk. It's in how my pulse stutters when he improvises a better lie, spinning danger into something slick and irresistible, like he's daring the universe to call his bluff. Because Jude and I? We didn't just play the game, we rewrote it, turning every rule into a suggestion and every heist into a love letter neither of us would ever say out loud.